Hello and welcome, I'm Joshua Barnes and you're watching NewsX World. You join us this hour as a preliminary report into the Air India crash that killed 260 people in Ahmedabad, India, says fuel control switches were moved to cut off just before impact. Cockpit audio detailed in the report highlights that one pilot asked why the fuel was shut off, but the other denied doing it. This situation, of course, comes after the devastating crash in Ahmedabad that has seen over 270 people killed, not just those on the flight, but also those living underneath where the plane came to a halt, crashing into a residential area in Ahmedabad. The situation is difficult, of course, for those who have lost loved ones, not just Indian people dying in this devastating situation, but also those in the United Kingdom, also Portuguese nationals, Polish and a Canadian as well. It is a devastating situation, and we will hear more now.
I don't think we should jump into any conclusions on this. I truly believe we have the most wonderful workforce in terms of pilots and the crew in the whole world. I have to appreciate all the efforts the pilots and the crew in this country are putting into the aviation. They are the backbone of this civil aviation. They are the primary resource of civil aviation, and we care for the welfare and the well-being of our pilots also. So let's not jump to any conclusions at this stage. Let us wait for the final report. Justice has to be done. So I know it is a very difficult time for the family members, but from our side, whatever best we can do from the ministry, we are trying to assist in that.
Well, this situation, of course, is a difficult one, and we are joined by a guest to discuss this. Of course, an extremely difficult moment and confusion now over what is going on. This report answering some questions, but also leaving some unanswered. My first question to you is how do you think this report will be received? And do you think that the families and loved ones of those who have lost their lives may still have answers?
You're asking me?
Yes, please.
Well, this report will be received well because it has come out with certain issues, certain findings. It has, for one, said that the other issues which were coming up, like the pilot's seat or contamination of fuel, have not been brought in. They've been cleared. The medical report of the pilot and the co-pilot has been cleared. So what is they are putting? They are actually trying to say that the switch, which the two switches which bring fuel into the engines, were switched off. So that seems to be the one current thinking in the preliminary report. Now, how were they switched off? The pilot and the co-pilot had a discussion which has been recorded in the flight recording machine, the black box, in which one pilot, I don't know whether the senior one or the junior one, asked the other one, have you switched off the switch for the fuel? And the other person says, no, I have not. So now there is the thing that who switched it off? Did it go off automatically? Is it easy to go off automatically? Now, in this context, I have something to say that that we have some evidence that in December 2018, Federal Aviation Authority, they had a special airworthiness bulletin in which they had said about 737, Boeing 737, that the fuel control switch, the locking mechanism of 737, by a bulletin number SAIB-18-33, they say switch could unintentionally move, and Air India and this particular aircraft, the Boeing 787, has a similar type of cockpit. So they have the same switches, and therefore this applies to 787 also. So there was a kind of an advisory. It was not a mandatory thing, it was an advisory issued, and which also applies to the Dreamliners, Boeing 787. And was it a mechanical or a technical failure that the fuel did not go into the engine? It was the switch was switched off, is something to be decided now, to be looked into now in the final report. So I think that is a very major development which the preliminary report comes out with. So that's where I think we have some lead to discuss further. That's it for the time being. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And looking as well at this report, it is, of course, only preliminary. Do you think that there will be any developments in the final report, or do you think this is pretty much a framework of what is to come? And then looking forward and looking at how a devastating situation, a crash like this, which is so rare to happen so soon after liftoff, do you think that any lessons can be learnt from this report, with the mysteries still remaining in place?
Well, I'm sure they can, because they will go through a proper investigation. And the investigation should reveal this, or maybe something new might come up, because it happens that the preliminary report is not the only item. New items come up. So we still have to wait for the final report. But the findings of the preliminary report do point to the switch. It also points to the fact that the two pilots have exchanged talk with each other, saying who has switched off the fuel switch, and both have said, I mean, one has asked, the other said, I have not. So that is a very major consideration of this report, and we have to move forward, and let's see what the new report comes up, the final report comes up with.
Sanat